Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We are finally going to work on this Bally Knight Rider electromechanical pinball machine that we've had in the shop for so long. Everybody keeps asking us when we're going to work on it. Today's the day. So if you've been waiting patiently for like a year or a year and a half while this is in the background of our other videos, we're finally getting her going. I've had these before, and it's a fun little game. But we were doing a Bally not too long ago that basically was the exact same layout. I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was $6 Million Man. But whenever we took it apart, we even laid the plastics down on the playfield, and it's almost identical. Might have been $6 Million Man. But with that said, it's a very fun game. I had one of these years ago. I've had a couple more over the years that we fixed and sold. And if you're not aware, this was one of the Bally's that they had switched over to solid state. So they made an electromechanical version and a solid state version. And this is the EM version. Sometimes whenever they do that, certain one, like the EM version or the solid state version, will be a little better than the other one, because of the way certain things work with the bonus or the scoring or something like that. So that may be the case with this one. We've had a ton of people ask us about it. So it's in pretty good shape as far as the play field. So it looks pretty clean. I don't even remember where we got it, to be honest. The skirts on the pop bumpers will need replaced, and it needs cleaned up a lot. But all in all, it's going to be a nice clean playfield when we're done. The back glass is another story. It's a 3-footer. From 3 feet it looks pretty good, but whenever you get close to it, it has some of the paint has faded, like flaked away. And that's a shame whenever it does that, because it's hard to replace that. There's really no good way to do it on a back glass because it has to be translucent. And I have never been able to pull it off where it looks all that great. What I used to do was I would paint it on with a brush, and we may end up doing that on this one. But whenever it lights up, you can see every little brush stroke, and it just doesn't look quite right. And the worst wear that you can have on a pinball machine is if there is a woman on the back glass and her skin is flaking away, because no matter what you do, she's going to look like she's diseased and has leprosy. So, you know, and I'm not saying anything sexist. When people walk up to this machine and you look at it, your eyes are drawn. Oh, look at the woman they drew. That's the waitress. Look how pretty she is. Oh, wait a minute. What's up with her skin? What in the world? Right. So we'll have to see what we can do about that. I'm thinking I've been wanting to try it for a while. This might be the one that we do it on. I'm thinking it may be better to just paint the back of it white, and it will fill in all of that missing area with white paint. But it'll look more even, and I don't know. We may experiment with putting some. Whenever you do that, it makes the back glass look darker. It's harder for the paint the light to shine through. So we may experiment with putting some. I'm going to say this: you're going to have a heart attack with some warm-colored LEDs. We might put a couple of that behind it and just see if it looks better like that, or if it looks better with the incandescents. Just because we're going to have to repaint so much of the back glass with white. The truck also has a lot of that going on. So that's just a shame. You can buy a new one. See, his jacket's like that too. You can buy a new one, but they're like $325 shipped, something like that. I don't know that I would get an extra $325 out of the game if I did that. So, something to think about. Here is the model number. We've been trying to show people the serial numbers. It's number 4174. And usually on the back box it has it too. 4174. This one matches. Sometimes I get them and they don't match. But that's okay. Alright, so the playfield looks pretty good. The back glass will look good. I'm an optimist, people. Cabinet looks pretty good. Nice stenciling. Such a fun game. Now, when I was a kid, every day when I got home from school when I was 5, my mom used to let us watch Smokey and the Bandit, which you probably shouldn't let 5-year-olds watch, but hey, I'm a special type of 5-year-old. So we used to watch Smokey and the Bandit every day. So this theme, like, I love it. There's even a Smokey the Bear in the car. For you youngins out there, okay? I was born in 78, which is right around the time that movie came out. Somewhere around through there. But that movie did not invent the Smokey the Bear CB radio thing, you know. Police were called Smokies before the movie. And this game, I believe, is from 76. Or I guess it would have been 77. Does it say anywhere on it? Sometimes it will have a date. I'm just guessing. You know, I'm over here talking. I don't have the luxury of Google right now. I'm going to guess this was 77 because it was right when they started making their solid state stuff, which was 77. Yeah, I don't see a date anywhere on it. But, so this, you know, it's kind of got the Smokey and the Bandit thing going on. But it's kind of just a, you know, it's a CB thing, right? But very cool. And that guy don't look like Jerry Reed at all. Look at him. He's like, hey, baby. And she's like, I'm posing. And he's like, so what are you doing after work? And she's like, don't worry about it. Putting the hammer down. See, if this was a ripoff, it would have said eastbound and down on it. But it didn't. Okay? 10-4, good buddy. Very cool. Alright, so let me take the glass off. We'll lift the playfield up. Let's see what the bottom of the playfield looks like. Okay. Pinball Check. It's not that bad. It's got rust on it, but it's not crazy. It's just old. So we'll be swapping that out. Okay. Nothing surprising in it. There is a coil down there. And one of the chime bars had popped off and landed there. So we'll be fixing that. I wonder what the coil's from. It's a yellow one. I don't see one missing from anything. Who knows? We'll find it eventually. Okay, so it's actually pretty clean. Oh, wait a minute. I see some screwery. So there is a wire that has been cut. We're not plugged in. There is a wire that's been cut and replaced with a new wire. I'll tell you what, they did a pretty good job. That's not how I would have done it, but it looks like they did a pretty good job. And it runs back to the transformer. We'll look into that more whenever we get the time. By doing that, they have bypassed this Jones plug here, which means you can't unplug the bottom board now. Well, we may have to undo it, you know, I mean. They did me wrong, people. They did me wrong. Normally that wouldn't matter, though. Usually you don't have to take the bottom board out. We don't really have to take the bottom board out, but you know, I like putting them back factory. And so on the bottom of the playfield, everything looks really good. Very cool. It's a nice survivor, don't you think? Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pop the playfield out of it so that we can look at the back of it back there. Okay, you can see where the wire has been cut loose. It's a white and green wire, and they have replaced it with a new white wire to come up here, and it's soldered in place of the other white and green wire. We might get cutesy and try to attach it through the connector. That'd be a good little video. Might be this good little video. Everything looks pretty good. I don't see anything wrong with anything. The lock coil's a little crispy like they always are, but just barely. It doesn't look that bad. So yeah, cool little game. Pretty sweet. Alright, so let me slide it out and let's look in the back box, see what it looks like back there. Okay, so here's the back box. We have done a ton of these Bally's lately, so I've done a bunch of them recently. We did a couple Freedoms, we did the $6 Million Man, we did that Circus, was a lot like this. Did a bunch of them. So, same as usual. 4 sets of score reels, 16 score reels total. We got the 3 Jones plugs coming from the bottom board. I think this is the player unit, player up unit they call it. This is the credit unit. Got the match unit here. The knocker up there on the top. If you're wondering, they're in different places on about every machine. It's back at knocking. And then these cool little relays up here, these are the 100,000 point relays. These come on and then hold themselves on, and it turns on a light and sounds a buzzer because you went over the top. And then you've got your 10-point relay, your 100-point relay, your 1,000-point relay, your number 1 score reset relay, your number 2 score reset relay. So just like all of the ones that we have done recently, as a matter of fact, it looks to me like you could swap these heads on some of these. Like this looks exactly like the Freedom head, or I think it is. You could just swap them, put a different back glass on it, and plug it right in. I wonder if anybody's done that. I mean, could you? That's interesting. I never thought about that. You could just have different bodies and swap the head over if you were missing a head. We've got a couple games that we are missing the head. But I don't think that would work for us. Yeah, nothing really notable back here. Everything looks like it's in great shape. Nice and clean. Cool. Very, very fixable. So we're going to get about it. So the first thing we always do is I'll wheel it back here against the wall, and then we'll go ahead and take the, we already took the playfield out, we'll clean the inside and lift up the bottom board, the relay panel, so we can start messing with that. And let's see if we can do anything about that wire that they added in. Just for giggles, we'll see if we can make that a little bit better. Okay, folks, so I've popped it up out of the cabinet, and I've vacuumed out the cabinet and as much as I could on this board. So whenever you go to pop the thing out, there is always a screw right here that holds it to that middle board. Okay? And then on the sides, there are 4 bolts with washers on them that go into those 4 holes there that just kind of grip the side and hold it down. So that's what mechanically holds it in place. There is a plug to unplug a Jones plug. Right. And then the chimes will be plugged in here, so that needs to be unplugged. And the power switch will have a couple screws holding it into the bottom of the cabinet. And then on the back, the playfield plugs in here. And then you have these 3 that run up into the back box that we were just looking at. So I vacuumed it up, No matter how good you vacuum it, you always miss a few spots. Look how cool. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is, I'm kind of fascinated by this wire that they replaced. So I can show you a little better how they did this. There were two wires running from this lug. They're white and green. Right, so here's one. The other one they cut, and then they replaced it with this white one. They had it just laying there, but I've kind of threaded it through the loom back up to the Jones plugs. And I cut it to get it out. It looks like it went right here. It looks like this plug has been heated up. So it must have not been making a good contact. So we're going to replace that and put the nice new wire back into the plug. And then on the other part, so it continued up and was soldered to the side of the fuse. And here's where they've cut the other wire. So I'm going to trace it out to make sure I replace the right one, but it looks like it's this one that's discolored. So they must have had a connection problem there, so they ran a new wire instead of just cleaning the plug. I don't know why you would do that, but maybe we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out why they did that. But I'm going to clean up the plug, and I'm going to attach that wire to the plug, and then on the other side attach the wire to the male part, and I think it'll be just fine. So we'll clean that up a little bit. Let me do that first, and then we'll pop it back in. I'll show you what that looks like whenever we take it apart. Okay, folks, so you can see what the problem must have been all those years ago when they were trying to figure out what the deal was. This particular one is not soldered in there anymore. It just overheated, and the solder was no longer sticking to the male part of the Jones plug. So we're going to clean it up, resolder it, and see if we can get it, the new wire, down in there properly. Now if we don't, there's one over here that's never been used. So worst case we could do that. But we'll try to use the original one, just for the heck of it. Okay, I was able to solder that back in and snake it around and take the old one out. And then this one, the same. Got nice good contact on it. So I think we're good there. That should be fine. We'll find out later, won't we? Won't we? Okay, so what do we do with this stuff? Well, the first thing we need to do is I'm going to go through and clean every freaking relay. Every one of them. Every switch on every relay, just so it makes it reliable. So there are only 3 types of switches on all of these. So there is a switch that is normally open, like this one, that one, and when the relay pulls in, the switch closes. And see how the big blade is making the smaller blade move? And then there's one that's it's normally open too. Normally open, same thing. And then these ones are called make-break switches. So you'll see like this outside one. See how the big blade is in the middle and it's touching the right one now? And then when this pulls in, it's touching the left one and no longer touching the right one. And it goes back and forth. That's 2 types. And then the other type is one that is closed and then opens. So this one. So that one's closed. And then it opens. So you just want to make sure that all of the switches are doing that. Don't adjust every single one of them. Just adjust them if it looks like they're not doing that. Simple as that, right? And you want to clean all of the contacts. So I use a little point file. Not a point file, a flat file. Don't go crazy. You don't want to get one that's real aggressive or anything. But you basically are just cleaning that up. We had someone send me some new ones. I'll show you what he sent me in the mail, our buddy John. I'll show you what he sent me, and then you can use something similar to this. So this is what John sent us. It's from this company. They make little, it's like little contact burnishers. It's pretty cool. So you can order those from there if you'd like. We usually use something like a little file that's worn away a little bit, so it's not too crazy. The whole thing is you don't want to take away too much of the meat on the contact, or they will not work as well. But you do need to clean them, so it depends on how dirty they are. So I've went through and I've done all of those contacts, but next up is the score motor. So how would you do that? Well, you could take one of these little contact burnishers. You kind of need to do it with two hands. And you're basically holding the points together so they're nice and flat, and then cleaning it to get all the gunk off. Let's see if I did anything. So there's still a little bit on there. Let's see if I can get the rest of it. It's harder with one hand. I mean, I could set up the tripod, but that's no fun. So you can see, you got to mess with it a little bit. We still got some in there we got to get off. So we got to go through and clean every freaking one of those. And then you have to have them adjusted right, like that top blade. It's basically just like the other ones. They're make, break, or make and break. So right now, the little wheel is down in the cam. So the top blade is not connected. But whenever that cam turns, and it rolls up on that sucker, now it's connected. Alright, so, and then the one under it is no longer connected. So you have to go through. These ones in through here are kind of tough because they're just hard to get to. It's just you got to get a lot of light on it and look in there and like look for the exact contact. So like this one, and then the one under it, the one under it. Look at the contact, and you got to do some cutesy stuff like this. That's why we use the long flat ones like this, because it has to be able to get up in there. Right? Not easy. Okay, so I'm going to set up the I'm going to clean those, and then we'll see what it comes up to after that, and then we're going to move on to doing these stepper units. But it's all the same stuff, people. You're just cleaning. Clean, 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 clean. You're rarely going to run into something that's all screwed up that needs to be replaced. It's just you got to get it real clean. So our next thing is the steppers. Let's see if they're stepping as they are, or if that was what was causing the problem. These are, a lot of times, these are the problems, these stepper units. So the coin unit, you can see it actually does look kind of rusty. Let's see if it'll still move. You know what? Works perfect. We're going to clean it anyway, but it works perfect. Let's see about this one. Perfect. 2, 3, 4. So every time this coil comes in, it moves that way, which makes different contacts connect to different contacts, and every time this one does it, it resets. So it's actually working pretty good. So what we need to do is clean the contacts on the actual disc there. You want to get all of those. These are holes, actually. These are contacts. You want to get all those nice and shiny. Same thing. And then there's a contact on the actual finger that you want to make sure is nice and shiny. And same over here. It's basically doing the same thing, just slightly different setup so it can make multiple connections. And then on the back of them, there are just a couple little switches. zero switches, basically, so that it can tell if it's back where it's supposed to be. So see this little pin here, it's going to go around and hit this blade and make that open those two sets of switches. Okay. So when it resets, see it hit the blade and opened it, and then whenever you step off of it, so that's open, that's closed. Simple, simple. Now on this one it's a little bit different. This one opens when it gets to the fourth position. So second position, third position, fourth position, it's open. It just depends on how it's wired and what the machine is doing, but these are the Bally ones. It's real common. We've done probably 10 different machines on video that show this same setup. So if you want to know more about that, go check out some of our other videos. So I'm going to start cleaning up all of that, and we'll see how shiny we can get these rivets. You can take this spider off, but you don't really need to. If it's working good and everything, you can just clean around it and then move it a couple spaces and clean the rest of it. And I'll show you the dielectric grease that we put on it just to make it turn a little smoother. Nice and shiny. I was saying that it looked rusted. I was just seeing this, and it's brown, it's almost rust colored, but it's not even metal, so that's not rust, right? So they cleaned up nice. I used just a little fine sandpaper on it. Lately, we keep getting people correcting every freaking thing we say. So when I say sandpaper, I mean paper that you can sand things with. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to have sand on it, people. All right, so it's just fine sandpaper. This particular one is 320 grit. Cleans it right up. Okay, and then we put a little dielectric synthetic grease on it. So dielectric means basically that it's safe for electrical contacts. But I have to watch how much I say that, because we also got a comment from a guy who said, "You literally know nothing about electric." What did he say? You literally know nothing about electricity. That's how I imagine all of these little whiners sound. You're wrong about that. I'm going to tell my mom. My butt hurts. Okay, so we got it all cleaned up. They look pretty good. You saw they already moved good, so we don't really have to do anything with that. Now, the very cool little stepper units. Sometimes you have to oil them, but if you can not oil them, don't oil them. They weren't oiled from the factory. There's no oil on them. Usually you have to oil them if somebody else has oiled them or screwed with them or something, but these look like they're original and nobody's messed with them, so we're not oiling them. If there is a nylon sleeve as well, you don't really need to oil them. So see how the gear is nylon? So that nylon goes through the metal, so it's nylon on metal. You don't want to oil that. The nylon doesn't really like oil. Some people say that it will swell, that the oil will impregnate the nylon, and that it will swell slightly, and then it won't go through the bushing as well, and will get stuck and all of that stuff. So just better no oil. If you have metal on metal grease, you might want to put grease on that. Sometimes I just use a thick oil. You can use they make two types of what's that stuff called? I'm looking at it. 3-in-1 oil. They make two types of 3-in-1 oil that you can easily buy at the lumber place, or the hardware store. They make 10 weight and 20 weight. So on something like this, metal and metal, the 20 weight would be better. Grease would be even thicker than that, but you don't want to go crazy with it, because again, originally they didn't have anything on them really. And they're still working, so people, if they made it 45 years, I mean, it's probably pretty good. So we're about done. The only thing left on the bottom board that I can think of, at least, that we really need to mess with is these Jones plugs. And I'm sure you've seen us do that a million times. Basically, You just have to get these clean, nice and shiny. Now, I haven't done it yet, but one of these days, I'm going to try it with Brasso. Because we got a machine in, they were real shiny and everything looked great. And I asked the guy how he did it, and he said, Brasso. So we're going to do that. The female part, the female side of the connector, you can clean with a bore brush. I can't tell you what a bore brush cleans, though, because YouTube is ran by a bunch of people that get all bent out of shape if you talk about the wrong thing. But they make these little tiny brushes that go in like a cylinder, a bore, right? If you put them inside of a cylinder, it cleans the inside of the cylinder. So this little hole here is about the same size as some of those little cylinders on those things that I'm talking about that you might be able to figure out, right? If you buy one of those, you can clean the female part of it. And then this part you can clean with just sandpaper or Brasso. Apparently works really good, so you might want to consider that. We'll get them nice and shiny. These don't actually go here. These go in the bottom of the cabinet, in the back of the cabinet. Okay, the playfield plugs in here. All right, so I'll clean these up so that they go up in the back where they're supposed to go, and then we're ready to put the thing back in the bottom of the cabinet and see how it looks. So with it all cleaned, we got it back down in there where it goes. Everything went right back how it's supposed to be, of course, because we took it out ourselves, right? So it better go back how it was. And I forgot to mention, if you're looking for some of our stuff that we use in our videos like this, you can check that out on our website. Go to lionsarcade.com, and we have links on there to some of our stuff that we use in our videos, like the bore brushes and the synthetic grease and all that kind of stuff. Go check that out. And also, make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film all of this for you. Now, you know what we need to do? We need to try to turn it on, right? So this thing hasn't been turned on probably since 1978. It's probably been that long, right? Maybe, maybe not. I'm sure it was plugged in and turned on the last time somebody owned it. So I don't remember who we got it from, but whoever owned it before us, I'm sure tried to turn it on. But who knows how long it's been broke. So the last time they played it, somebody got 6,620 points. So they didn't do too good, so something else must have been broke, right? That may actually be a clue that the flippers were broke or something, and that's why it stopped working. Because if it, I don't know, you know, you would think that the score would be higher if somebody actually played a full game. The last time it was turned on, they must have not really played a full game. Okay, so let's see what it looks like whenever we turn it on for the first time in a long time. Lights up pretty well. Like we talked about, the back glass isn't the greatest. We'll have to work on that. But there it is. It's trying to come back, people. Look at this. Some genius. Wow. I'm stealing that. They put the flash bulbs in the cop car lights. Awesome. I'll bet that's designed like that, because why would they? How would they have the bulbs directly behind those lights? You know, they must have designed it like that. Very cool. I've had several of these, and I never put flashers behind that, but I will from now on. That's pretty cool. All right, so we can't play it yet because we don't have the playfield in it. So you have to wait till the next video for that. But did you see what happened while you weren't looking? We had another Bally pinball machine show up. This time it's the fantastic Captain Fantastic. Boy, that's a famous one, isn't it? So we're going to be fixing that for a gentleman who brought it to us, wants us to check it out. Captain Fantastic and the Dirt Brown Cowboy. Let's hear it for Bally. Boy, they were rocking and rolling right about this time, weren't they? Okay, so like I said, leave your comments below. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. This thing's coming back. It won't be long now. Just so you know, too, whenever we film videos like this, we upload them in order. So if I haven't finished this Knight Rider yet, I won't upload the first video. So usually if the video's up, we're never going to leave you hanging. Or at least we're going to try not to. So we don't like, you know, uploading one video and then 6 months goes by and you don't see the next video. That happens every once in a while, but we haven't done that in a while. So if you see this video, the next one will be up in a day or two. Don't worry about it. So we appreciate you hanging out with us. Go ahead and leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. And make sure to check out, last but not least, my brother Donnie. Now, if you don't know about that, it's literally my brother Donnie. Has a channel here on YouTube. If you like watching us work on these old pinball machines, you'd probably like watching us work on old buildings. We've bought a couple old buildings in a town near here in the downtown area and are fixing them up to help revitalize the little town. Having a lot of fun doing it too. So go over there and check that out. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you on the next video.